Hello, I'm Nelson Bird and welcome to another Indigenous Circle special. Trapping animals for their fur has been an important part of Canadian culture for hundreds of years. Aboriginal people first trapped to meet the daily requirements of survival. Then, when the Hudson's Bay and the Northwest Company came onto the scene, the fur trade began, and the pelts were soon in demand across the Atlantic. That was a lesson we learned in grade school history, and many of us even grew up snaring gophers for their tails or just for fun. More recently, if we hear anything about trapping, it's in the form of an anti-fur protest on the 6 o'clock news. But what is it like to actually be out in the trapline in northern Saskatchewan? Tonight, Indigenous Circle will take you there. We'll follow two trappers into their world, a world that is rich in culture, but surrounded by controversy. Hello there, how are you?
All right.
Good to see you.
Right there. Well, I've been traveling over 50 years. And I do quite a bit of trapping. Like in the summer, you can't do very much. I'm a pensioner, I don't have to do too much. But I do a little bit, like fixing cars and motors and stuff like that. Passed away the time.
76-year-old Ben Bradfield has trapped in the Larange area all of his life.
I really like it here, because I live that way. Like if I go to town, I get lonesome. I want to get back over here. So it's hard, like, to live in town. I live with kids in town. Like my family's over there, to go visit them once in a while. And come back, but I'm still lonesome to the bus. You gotta come.
Over the years, Ben has witnessed many changes. At one time, he would spend days on snowshoes checking his trap lines. Today, he gets around much quicker.
Oh, I've been changed a lot. It used to be tough years ago. Like you get animals and you don't get very much. And that's all you gotta have is no job. You just can't do nothing. Just all you do is do in the winter time. Winter time you can do a little bit, make a little bit of money for trapping. Barely can feed yourself.
Ben's trap line is small. Every second day he checks about a dozen traps in a 10 square mile area.
Like these cross sticks, you put this one so they step over into the trap. When they get caught, then I put a wire in there, this fox wire, tied up into the tree.
Oh yeah.
Then they can't break the line. They can't. They don't take the trap away. They just stays in one place.
All he wants, something that will fetch a half-decent price. Lynx, beaver, otters, and marten are the choice catch. But in trapping, it's not so much a case of choice, but the unexpected.
Well, sometimes like you set a trap, you don't expect anything in there. So I caught a skunk. My mother told me, he said, go set the trap. He said, get another one. He said, you can't catch nothing after you get a skunk in a trap. I thought, I won't open it up again. The next morning I thought maybe I'd get another skunk. Here I caught a fisher.
Lynx is the choice of many trappers in the north, including Ben. The demand for the fur, however, dictates the price, and demand fluctuates.
Well, about 4 or 5 years ago, it used to be $1,000 for link, but only allowed just one link to a trap. But the price is way down. The best price I got is $125. It's top price.
On this particular day, there are no lynx, no otters, not even a rabbit. But Ben knows you have to take the good days with the bad.
Sometimes you get quite a bit, sometimes you don't get nothing at all. Sometimes you get a 4 or 5, sometimes you don't get nothing. That's the way it goes.
Old Ben may not have been so lucky this time out, but like hunting or fishing, trapping requires patience. But it also requires something else, physical stamina. And to maintain that, one must remain physically active all of the time. Meet Franklin Carrier. He's a trapper of a different generation. While at home, Franklin practices all the techniques that prove handy in the bush. As well as some he uses in trapping competitions.
And I've always maintained my tradition as a part of my upbringing when I was a kid. And I always did respect the bush, because you make one mistake and you pretty well could freeze out there, or you could drown, or there's so many things that could happen to you. So you respect what you do in the bush, and you're learning all the time.
Price of beavers haven't been that good. This winter it was pretty good. We're up to about $60–50, eh? But I got a couple of other traps over here. We'll go and check those. Right? Okay, he's coming in here like this, and then he's going to trip this. That's how quickly. You don't want to get your hand caught in there. Look at what happened to my stick. So it's a good trap, and it's a quick kill. And the humane trap, people would like to see that, eh? So the animal doesn't suffer. And also we like to see the animal quick kill like that, because you don't want them to suffer. It's bad enough nature is mean to the animals. I see the animals must have came through here some time ago, and we caught something in here. We'll just put the sticks out and see, when you see these trails here, that's where you put your traps. Like that, I got that one over there, eh? That one didn't trip, but this one is tripped. So we got an animal here. Yeah.
What's that?
That looks like an otter, river otter, that we got in a trap. Nice big one too. And this is the most humane way of catching animals, you know.
So
the humane.
Like he just crushed his head and.
Yeah, it killed him pretty quick, and then the cool got him, eh? This is a quick kill trap, eh? This is what they call a conibear. Yeah. It's a 330 conibear, and it got him right on the head, and it must have killed him right away. Because it's a beautiful pelt, eh? Yeah, you notice how quiet it is out here in the bush, eh, Nelson? Well, that's the benefits of being a trapper. You get the quietness and the remoteness of the area.
There's several steps involved in trapping. First, the trap is set, the animal is caught, and the fur, like this wolverine here, finally ends up on the market. But before that happens, they end up here at the trading post, where the company grades and buys the fur.
Good morning.
It is. Very cold.
Robertson's trading store has been around for over 30 years. Owner Alex Robertson started the company with a small building. Today it's one of the main centers of business in La Ronge. On this day, Alex's daughter-in-law Diane is looking after things, and that includes doing business with trappers.
Where'd you get this? Once he brings it in, we sort out each pelt. Each species has a different, for example, beaver is measured lengthwise and widthwise. The length of the fur, the depth of the fur. Mink is based on color. I guess all fur pelts are based on color. Color, depth of fur, size is another one. And then once we finish grading it, it is put in bales and it's sent to the North American Fur Auction. And there again, it is also graded.
And what the fur buyer wants is a clean fur, right? You clean skin this thing. A lot of guys will do it by hand with a knife, or some of the ladies will do it by a little, scraper.
What is this?
This is a beaver. Yeah. This is probably about a 2 or 3 year old beaver. And this particular animal, that's the fun part. That's when the fun starts, is cleaning it, making sure that it's well dried. I see a lot of guys, they're in such a hurry to come and sell their fur that they'll have grease spots on it, and in some places it won't even be dried. So the good trappers, they take their time. It takes about, some people, 20 minutes to clean skin a beaver, and it takes me about an hour and a half to do a job like this.
How did it get to be in this shape right there?
It's a combination of, I like to use a plywood seat like this, where the animal is flat. You nail it. You could see the nail marks on it. You nail a beaver like this. Make sure you start nailing it over here.
Yeah.
You nail it over there, and then you come in like this as you go, and you keep nailing it up and down. And the fur buyer will look at this and say, okay, no holes in it, clean. Then he turns it over, and then he goes like this. Say, okay, that's a Royal Prime beaver. This beaver probably will give the trapper probably roughly about $50–60, or maybe a little more, depending on the size of the beaver. Because what the buyer does is he measures his tape from there to there, and then he goes across like this, and this is how he measures his stuff.
The demand for fur is based on, just like the stock market. There's supply and demand. If people are scared of wearing furs, for example, then nobody will buy fur. The fashion industry is also another big factor. Ranch farming also is competitive with the fur buyer.
Coming up after the break, we'll look at the history, the controversy, and the future of trapping in northern Saskatchewan. Stay with us. First Nations people were trapping long before the white man arrived. Blair Stonechild teaches classes on the history of the fur trade at the Saskatchewan Indian Federated College in Regina.
You know, items such as fur would be used for clothing or for for hides, that type of thing. And you know, they were very careful about maintaining a balance. They only used basically what they needed. There wasn't an attempt to take more than they needed to, or to exploit the resource more than they needed to. And after the Hudson's Bay Company established its post here in 1774, and then you had competitors come in like the Northwest Company and the Réveillon Fairs, it was really the heyday of the fur trade, and there was a lot of prosperity. You know, Indians could bring in furs while they were abundant. They could, get all kinds of goods that the Hudson's Bay Company could provide: metal tools, cooking tools, things like blankets and cloth, and luxury items such as beads and tobacco and alcohol.
In Europe, demand for hats made from beaver drove the industry. Then, anyone of importance had to have one.
Many of the good quality beaver came from the interior. For example, in a good year, tens of thousands of furs could be, sent out from, like the area that's today northern Saskatchewan.
From the mid-1800s to the 1950s, demand for furs declined. Coincidentally, trapping tailed off. Furs themselves became sparse. The federal government introduced conservation methods and modern technology to the north.
And so you had the introduction of things like family allowances and welfare and reserves, and an emphasis on encouraging people to settle down in one place, and therefore, that just kind of added to the difficulty of the trapper who was trying to go out in his trap line when he couldn't take his family anymore. Sometimes if they didn't stay in one place, they wouldn't get like the payments of family allowances and that type of thing.
But that wasn't the only challenge facing a people and a lifestyle in transition. In the 1970s, anti-fur ads like this one became popular across North America and Europe. Fur was no longer fashionable. In fact, just the opposite. While the pendulum has swung back a little, the anti-fur lobby remains a force globally. Aboriginal trappers find it difficult to respond to the anti-fur protest. The two sides come from different worlds.
And then you have the anti-fur trade message, which again is coming from a very different direction. Often it's fairly wealthy socialites who are kind of taking this on as a cause, and they don't have the close contact with these people. They don't understand the role and importance of something like the fur trade in the lives of Aboriginal people.
And what would Franklin say if he had an opportunity to speak to an anti-fur protester?
I would like to tell this individual that why don't you come and stay with Ben for a whole month and see if you could survive out there in the bush with him.
Despite what anti-fur lobbyists say, trapping is a highly regulated business. Northern Saskatchewan is subdivided into fur blocks. There are dozens of blocks varying in size. Trappers work only the area set aside for them. Regulations like this, trappers say, keep the fur industry manageable.
That's a big weasel for this part of the country.
And they are adamant trappers should not have to bear all the blame for dwindling animal numbers.
We're watching very closely. We have a lot of roadkill. What we call roadkill is that there's so many animals out there, and we have very few trappers that are trapping. We see a lot of dead animals along the highway. This is where the majority of the kill is. And we also see, we're starting to see now that we're losing our rabbits. Our rabbits have declined, and some of my trappers have been telling me that the lynx are starving to death, you know. And we're finding animals that are dying, and we also have a lot of beavers that are being killed because they like to build dams. You know, Department of Highways go along and hire somebody to make sure that the beaver dams are kept open.
Another myth Franklin Carrier wants to dispel, that trapping will make you rich. He notes there are few jobs in the north. Alternatives to trapping are scarce.
It's pretty hard on the governments to give you social assistance, and it's very hard on the Indian bands to try to feed their people. There's not that many people that could live out there and say they are a full-time trapper. We have a lot of people that do live out in the bush, but not necessarily good trappers. They know how to catch rabbits, they know how to catch chickens, they know how to catch all kinds of smaller animals they could eat. But to be able to make a living full-time in a trapline, no, there are not that many people that could do that.
We'll be right back with more on trapping when Indigenous Circle returns. Please stay with us. Effective April 1st, 2001, leg hole traps like this one will be banned in Canada.
And this is one of the leg hole traps, eh? This particular trap here is going to be banned in April. Yeah, and the only time I could use this particular trap will be on a drown set, eh? Okay, I'm going to trip this trap, and you'll see how quickly it catches an animal. See?
Oh, yeah.
It's called a jump trap. And the reason why they call it a jump trap is because it jumps up instead of sideways or anything.
So it jumps up and catches them wherever.
And you catch the link right on the foot, eh?
Animals who get caught in this type of trap do not die quickly. The trapper usually encounters a live animal and has to shoot it on the spot. This isn't a first choice, but most trappers simply cannot afford the more expensive conibear traps.
See? That's how quick it catches them.
Oh, yeah.
This is stoppers. We've been using it for many years, and I know they changed the law. Can use a different traps. Like we can use them for to drown them, like beaver, muskrat, stuff like that. But we can't use them for lynx or anything like that. So we got to use conibears.
Whatever the method, Ben Bradfield will continue trapping. It's in his blood. It's his life. And he's always willing to share a story from the trapline.
There's one time I went trapping, beaver trapping. There's a big beaver there, I'd say it wouldn't be 5 feet high. And I looked around, climbed the other old beaver house, climbed bear tracks all over. No, there was no bear, so I went down, took a little stick of the bear looking at me, right? It must be about 10 feet. And I had this 22 Magnum. Shot right between the eyes, that thing didn't fire. I had to pump another cell. When he dropped, I was kind of scared a little bit, eh? But I want to make sure I shot him two more times right in the air to make sure. But that bear was up to my shoulder. That was a big bear.
The Fur Council of Canada estimates the fur trade contributes $800 million to the Canadian economy. It employs 80,000 Canadians. But business is only part of this Canadian heritage industry. After 400 years of commercial trading, there are as many beavers in Canada now as when Europeans first arrived, thanks to conservation policies. The question is, will trappers and trapping flourish in the years to come?
I think it's going to be a sad day when I'm the generation down from Ben, and I'm 55 years old, what do you call baby boomers? And these are the people that were well trained in the fur industry. And I've got 3 children, and none of them are trappers. What we did was we gave them an education. We said, we don't have any money. We can't give you money when we're gone, but we'll give you an education. You'll go back to school, stay in there, get a trade.
I don't think they're going to go back to the trapline because everything is going. The fur, the price, everything is going down. They can't live in the bush. They got to go find jobs. If they can go to school, well, that's their life.
And we like to see more, you know, trapping schools happening so that the young people could benefit on it. Yeah. If they ever want to go back to their grandfathers or their dad's trap line to make a living out there. Because not everybody has an education. We have a lot of young people out here that maybe have grade 5, grade 6, and they drop out of school. And it's sad to see, you know, when they're 20 years old, 25 years old, they can't even write their names. They forgot that, eh?
And I think we'd be better off in the future that if we have a well-trained trapper out there and using the right type of traps, with the help of these, with the help of the protesters, we could have an industry and also have a very humane type of trapping that we could do, and everything would be that much more better, eh? But what's happening right now, we're still being protested pretty hard, and I would like to see the two groups get together. Instead of fighting each other, why don't we put all our heads together and put our you know, knowledge and do a real good job instead of drag them out and, you know, paint the thing wrong.
There probably will always be some role for, you know, trappers of furs and that type of thing. But, you know, I don't think there's ever any going back. You know, there's never really going back to, you know, like the type of situation that one time existed that perhaps, you know, now today exists in folklore, basically, you know, and so times continue to change, and yet in some cases, you know, that old way will persist.
So there you have it, trapping. For some, it's still a way of life, a daily ritual that requires the trapper to spend long hours on trapline, hoping to catch enough furs to make a few dollars. Sure, they could be doing other jobs, but they choose this, not for fame or fortune, but because it's part of their culture passed on from generation to generation. What does the future hold for the trapper? Well, if anti-fur protesters have their way, not a lot. But in some way, trapping and trading will survive, even if it is only through folklore and stories. I'm Nelson Bird. Thanks for watching, and good night.